again, and welcome back to my craft room. This is video 2 in my video tutorial range for my class by mail for January 2021, the floating and fluttering class. Just bear with me, I'm just making sure my iPad catches up. Here we go. Make sure the volume's working again. Yep, here we go. So thank you very much for purchasing this class, or if you're watching the videos after I've released them publicly in February and beyond, thanks for coming back. Thanks for watching as well. This is card number 2 of the class, although there's nothing to stop you from doing them in any order you want, but this is the one I'm going to show you next. It's a really, really cute little card. It sort of highlights the colours and stuff really well against the black and white background there. So that's that one there we're going to be doing. It has some ribbon there. Now I have a confession to make. This class was both so popular that I have actually run out of this ribbon. This is actually the Whisper White seam binding ribbon, which I have coloured with the light Highland Heather blend. So it's a white ribbon, but you run the blend across it along it, and it colours up nicely, which is a really good thing actually if you've got this binding ribbon at home and you want a ribbon of a certain colour. You can just basically colour this one in with markers or ink or whatever you happen to like, but you get a perfectly coloured ribbon every time. Okay, so in the kit for this little one, you will have again a card base, which is again a Whisper White card base, or soon to be basic white card base. Pop that aside. You've got a panel of Highland Heather cardstock, which is 1/4 of an inch smaller than the card base, so it is 3 7/8 by 5.5. Then you have a panel of another panel of white cardstock, which is 1/8 of an inch smaller than the Highland Heather. So all the dimensions, as I say, will be in your little written instructions, but if you're watching afterwards, that would be, what was that, 7/8, 3 3/4 by 5 3/8 there, just with a tiny edge. Then you've got the various bits and bobs, which I'll come back to in a minute, but it's this one here that we're actually wanting at the moment. So this is the one we're going to be stamping. There's a fair bit of stamping with this one, so I'm going to take guesswork out of the equation by actually bringing in a foam mat. Just find sometimes with the photopolymer stamps they don't stamp completely. They're a little bit hard, so it's best to have, oh there's some dimensionals there. It's best to have, if you do have trouble with that coverage, it's best to put a foam mat or a silicone mat or something underneath. So what we're going to do is stamp multiple butterfly clusters all over our piece of cardstock here. But the one to start with is the one that you're eventually going to highlight with the colours. So what I'd suggest you do, the very first one you stamp would be in that top, or up towards the top left hand corner part of your card. So around about there. So as I say, this is the one that we're going to be building up with our coloured butterflies, and the rest of them you can just sort of tuck in around and build up around. So there we are. So that's our first one. And then, as I say, you can basically go crazy with the rest and just sort of tuck them in and around. And it's a really nice little stamp set for that, because the little wings do actually tuck quite nicely in and around each other. So you can make it look pretty much seamless. Except for if you wobble like that's not going to help. I'm going to be covering that with my ribbon, so don't worry. I would normally, if we weren't putting ribbon there, I would have actually flipped the cardstock over. I'll just be a little bit more careful I don't wobble too much. That's a newbie. Not a newbie, that's a rookie error, that one, isn't it? Wobble too much. My ladies will be saying, Julianne, you tell us not to wobble. I think because I've got it on my hands, I think that's where it's coming from. So just bringing those stamped images all the way around. Trying not to drop my ink. I'll get it on my table. My brand new table that my husband made me to cut down on the horrible wobbles that I had before. Anyone who's watched me before, I've often reminded everyone to take their seasickness tablets before they tuned in, because the table did wobble terribly. And last one, we'll put that this way. So always when you're doing multiple stampings like this, always sort of rotate your stamps, come in at a different angle, and it looks like everything's not the same. It's all sort of new and interesting. Okay, so that foam mat's going to have lots and lots of ink on it now, so I'm going to get it out of the way before it hurts something else. Okay, so there we have our stamped images, should I say. Then what you need to do is bring your ribbon in, and as I say, I have ran out of the ribbon that you guys have all got in your kits, so I'm using an old favourite, a retired ribbon from a couple of celebrations ago. This is a Highland Heather ribbon. It's really one of my favourites, and I'm so pleased that I have some left, although that's not going to last very much longer if I keep using it like this. So to put the ribbon on, you basically just get some double-sided tape or some adhesive of some sort. Pop it, where are we going to be doing it? On the lower half, so it's around here. So pop it on the back of your card, around about there. Eek, doesn't want to come. Just cut my fingernails, and I think I've gone too far. So pop your ribbon on your surface. Now the bow is going to be over this side, so we obviously need more ribbon on that side than we need on that side, because the bow is going to be over here. So just lay it on nice and straight. Don't press down too far hard, because your double-sided tape will stick to your table. You don't want that. And we'll just tie our little bow. And you guys who watch me for a while realise that bows are not my forte, but I will try my darndest just for you. Try and fail most of the time. I blame the fact that I had boys. As children were all boys, and tying bows was not big on my getting ready for school agenda most mornings. And when I had them as a child myself, my mum would do them for me, so I didn't really get any practice, but I'm getting practice now. So let's just tighten, sort of line those up so that they're roughly the same, and I'll trim the little bit of extra that I have. So as I say, your ribbon will be slightly different to that, but it will be the same colour and just as cute. So there we are, we've got that ribbon on. That's quite good for me, because I usually get to this point and forget to do the ribbon. So we've got the ribbon on. Okay, so we can layer it up now with our other pieces of cardstock. I'm just going to put some more adhesive on the back. So first of all, onto your Highland Heather. And then straight onto your card base. And then that's pretty much this one done. This part done. Still got our butterflies to do. Okay, there. There we are. Okay, so we'll bring in, as I mentioned in the first video, if you've bought the bundle from me, so you have the dies, I will have just given you some extra cardstock to stamp and die cut, but if you didn't buy the dies, you've just got the stamp set, you will have a pre-die cut cluster of butterflies and a little sentiment box. This little sentiment box has been cut using the Tasteful Labels die set, which is really nice. It's got some really nice little shapes on there. You've got some dimensionals, and you should have some embellishments, some little rhinestones, but I don't seem to put it in mine kit. Hopefully I've put it in yours. I hate to think that I've left you without them, but I've got them here. Okay, so again, not getting ink on our fingers again, you ink up your butterflies, position them over your die cut or just on your spare piece of cardstock if that's what you've got, and stamp off. There we are. And this time we might colour it in slightly differently. We might stamp off the colours and then bring in the highlight dies from before. Let's see how we go. Okay, so we've got our same three colours again, our Flirty Flamingo, Granny Apple Green and Highland Heather. And I'll bring in my spare piece of scrap cardstock as well. Okay, so I've got them all blocked up here. Here they are. Okay, so our nice big butterfly again, we're going to do, you can mix up your colours, as I say, don't mind too much what colours you use, just as long as they're pretty. I'm going to ink it up once with the Highland Heather, stamp off once onto a scrap piece of paper, and then the second stamp onto your butterfly. So you can see, compare that to our other butterfly. Here, it's a lot lighter than him. Okay, so there. Then I'm going to bring in the Flirty Flamingo. Do our little butterfly in Flirty Flamingo. Where'd he go? There he is. I'm actually going to, because Flirty Flamingo isn't as an intense a colour as the heather. I'm just going to do that just plain, just straight. Here we go. And then our other little guy, our butterfly that's coming in sideways, I'm going to do a combination. So he's like a double coloured butterfly. Going to have the top half in Highland Heather and the bottom half of his wing in Flirty Flamingo. So all you need to do, just I'll get everything out of the way, just on the edge of your stamp, of your die or into your ink pad, just ink up the top half of the stamp, and then bring in your Flirty Flamingo and just ink up the bottom half of the stamp. You might have a little bit of overlap, and that's not a problem. And then you can bring that in to your butterfly, just like that. And so you can see he's got the top half in Highland Heather and the bottom half in Flirty Flamingo. So he looks a little bit different. Then with our big and little butterflies, I'm going to bring in the detail stamps from the set. So you'll notice you've got this weird looking one here that it has just sort of like, just has sort of like a bit, just going to set sort of, you can stamp a highlight colour or a contrast colour. And I'm just going to do it again in the Highland Heather. This is the one for the big butterfly. Just again in the Highland Heather, but this time it'll be straight, so it'll actually be quite a bit darker. You just position it over your butterfly, and then you get the highlights there. Just make sure you can see that. So you get the light and the dark in the Highland Heather. And I'll do the same with the little butterfly. He's got a little highlight stamp as well. This is him there. And I'm going to pop him in the Flirty Flamingo and stamp over. And he will get some light and dark shades. I'll show you again. Some light and dark shades of Flirty Flamingo as well. There you go. Right, won't do it with the other little two-tone guy, because that's a two-tone guy. It's a little bit tricky to do that. Okay, so we'll bring in our green, and again we'll do our leaves in the green. Where's the other leaves? There they are. I hadn't put them back in the right place. Terrible girl. Okay, I'm going to leave this one full strength this time. Just straight over like that. It's a bit off. Okay, so that's our little butterfly done there. We might just stamp our sentiment while we're at it. And again, I'm going to use the Peaceful Moments stamp set and just the Happy Birthday that's over there. It fits into this little sentiment box like pretty perfectly. And I dropped it on the floor and it's rolled across. Look at you. Oh, dear me. Okay, so we've got our little sentiment stamp, just in some black. And Happy Birthday. Or as I say, any sentiment that you've got that's your favourite will do. Okay, so we can basically finish this one off now. We'll bring back our card base. So our little butterflies, as I mentioned before, you're going to position them over this original one that we stamped pretty much, you know, smack bang in the middle or up to the side a little bit. And then we're going to pop some dimensionals on the back. I don't use very many dimensionals when I'm doing my videos. You guys can use as many as you want. I tend to use so many that I have to be a little bit cautious with them, a little bit economical, as you can probably imagine. I make several versions of each of these cards over the design period and the video period and the instruction period, so if I used lots of dimensionals each time, I'd be doing nothing but ordering dimensionals basically my whole life. Oh, off to the side there, my dimensional graveyard. There we go. Okay, so we're going to position this one just there over the original stamped image, and that just gives that particular one just a little bit of colour, a little bit of something different. I'm going to pop some dimensionals on the back of our sentiment as well. And pop that in place, and then I'll find my rhinestones and we'll pop those on as well. These cards are just so simple, but I think they're really lovely, and I think that's the beauty of this particular stamp set, in the fact that the images are just so easy to stamp because they are sort of all together in that one stamp. Here we are. That's our Happy Birthday. I'll grab my rhinestones if I can find them. Here they are. And we'll just pop a few rhinestones around the place. Something else I seem to go through a heck of a lot of rhinestones. I think I've given you 5 for each card, so 10 in total. But I might just pop 3 on just for this particular one. So just find yourself some nice little gaps in it that you would like to add a bit of bling to your card. one just in there, I think. There we are. So you just add those rhinestones on where you would like them. And there we are, that's card number 2. I hope you like that one. I've got ink on my fingers terribly today, just black ink everywhere. Anyway, so there are that's card number 2. As I say, you can do them in whichever order you want, but that's the second one I've shown you today. So I'll tidy myself up again, and I'll come back with the last one for this class.